And this part of the video is going to have a couple sections. It's going to take a little time. And unpack some rabbit holes within this full moon, September 7th. It is a lunar eclipse. The moon is on a fixed star, Alpha Phoenix, on Ka, and we have a Leo south node, Aquarius north node axis. There are some other features, as you can see. It's not the only thing happening, but those are the big ones, and that's what we're going to focus on first. So let's break down Leo and Aquarius, because the nodes always function together as a pair, and they always function as an axis. And this axis is in the constellations Leo and Aquarius. It's an axis that sees the energies of the self, that's Leo, sort of balanced with the energies of society, the greater good, if you will, the bigger picture. And we can say that Sun and South Node in Leo correlate with karmic processes involving the expression of personal power, good, bad, and otherwise, those expressions. We can say that a moon and a north node in Aquarius correlate with a natural flow towards the bigger picture, towards the eagle's eye view of the water bearer. The south node here with Sun in Leo tends to diminish what it touches, tends to take something. And Leo is our selfish point of reference. It's our experience as an individual, a person. North node in Aquarius points the way. It shows a need for people to understand selfhood from a higher perspective, to fit your understanding of yourself into the bigger pattern. To recognize where is the appropriate place within the bigger pattern for yourself. And the perspective of Aquarius is very liberation oriented. It doesn't like the parts of selfhood that hold us back from the Aquarian prerogative of freedom. So any of those traits, the sort of bars in the windows of the cell of the prison of self, when self is related to in such ways, those features of your self will be up for review this month, guaranteed. I think the emphasis is on liberation. That's an Aquarian prerogative, and self-centered approaches are very disfavored this month. So we may encounter them at this time. As you know, South Node does have a certain gravity and intensity around it, but we may encounter people and actions that don't take the whole into consideration, that don't see the big picture. And we may encounter that all month due to the powerful presence of Regulus and Leo in the new moon, because Leo's processes are actually about exploring selfhood. They're about self-exploration. They're about evolving and learning through self-understanding and self-experience. They don't necessarily care about the big picture. So this challenges everybody to step out of that sandbox of selfhood into, at the very least, seeing where yourself fits in to the bigger social or group picture. And this is an eclipse, so this is going to have some other prerogatives too. And this eclipse is part of a series. It's part of Saros 9 New South. And I think that rather than saying a lot about that, we should just switch to that chart right now. This is the origin chart of the Saros Series. So this is Saros Series 9 New South, or Saros 154. They're the same. That's just astronomical and astrological designations for the same cycle. The first eclipse in that cycle was 19th July 1917. Now, I'm sure you history buffs are already going, what? But let's break this down further. First, I want to make note of a couple things. We have, very interestingly, a Neptune-Saturn conjunction, which Mercury is a part of. So we have very close Neptune-Saturn that mirrors the present day. And we have very close in zodiacal degree Eris and Chiron. Now, Eris is actually pretty deep in the southern skies in Sculptor at this time, but in zodiacal degree, this conjunction is significant, and this does reflect the alignments of today. So we have two conjunctions, and a third, of course, the new moon. We have three close conjunctions that define this chart. All three are resonant with this full moon eclipse, September 7th. Because we have exact sun-moon contact, we have close Neptune-Saturn conjunction, and we have close Eris-Chiron conjunction. So this is a south node eclipse that also brings Mars and Pluto into the territory of eclipse. So we can think of this as the south node eclipsing sun and moon, also eclipsing Pluto and Mars, distorting their expression as a quality of the cycle to follow. They didn't know Pluto yet. It was 1917. Pluto was discovered 1930. But regardless, I mean, nature doesn't care. Nature doesn't care what we know. Bernadette Brady says, this Saros series appears to be concerned with the bringing to the surface of long-term worries about loved ones' health or issues to do with paperwork or communication. This could manifest as a worrying piece of news about a loved one or responsibilities with paperwork coming home to roost. Any news will have a sense of destiny or fatedness about it. Now, you can take that or leave that. I have left that pretty far behind. I'm seeing some different stuff. Brady wasn't looking at Eris Chiron. She wouldn't see the opposition to Ceres, and it's questionable. I believe she's a tropicalist, so she sees the backdrop entirely differently. We don't have to make much of this cusp. But cusps are transitional. They're transition points, and the nature of this transition could be dark, could be manipulative, could be violent. We can say that. We can say that Pluto and that Saturn and Neptune are close. And what I glean from that is obviously different than Bernadette Brady. She's just focused on a little bit different details. Let's take a look at the year 1917. It was a pivotal year in world history. In February of 1917, now that was prior, but point of fact, February 1917 saw the end of 300 years of rule by czars in Russia. It ended with the February Revolution of 1917. In April of 1917, just a couple months prior to this eclipse, Lenin declared that the working class should overthrow the middle class, oust the provisional government, and seize power. A coup. And in October 1917, that's this cycle, this eclipse cycle, The October saw the October Revolution, a successful coup by the Bolsheviks. They were Russian Marxists who would later become the Communist Party in Soviet Russia. And in November 1917, Lenin took power as the first communist leader of Soviet Russia. Also, 1917. Also, this eclipse cycle, so the latter half of that year, saw World War One in its fourth year, but this cycle saw the U.S. and China, veritable major powers, declare war on Germany in 1917, getting involved in World War One. U.S. and China. And in an interesting piece of trivia, women secured the right to vote in 1917. And it's commonly taught that the 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920, giving women nationally in the United States the right to vote. But the right to vote for women as a novelty, as a natal event, happened in New York State through some provisional law that gave women there the first right to vote, 3 years before the 19th Amendment. So all this concordant with this sort of like emergent eclipse cycle. This is the beginning, the natal chart of a whole Saros cycle that ends in like the year 3000 or something. So I don't know exactly when it ends, but we're very early in it. We're early in this Saros series. I have said repeatedly, man, this is a rabbit hole alert. We're going to go down a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole. We're already in a rabbit hole. We're in a natal chart of something that happened in 1917, over 100 years ago. And now we're going to deep dive a feature. And that's the Saturn-Neptune cycle. And I have said repeatedly that this conjunction is connected to cycles of communism and authoritarianism. And since we're looking at this eclipse that features this conjunction so powerfully, and it's such an important eclipse to its whole cycle, I want to briefly unpack why I make that claim. For you deep divers and researchers, the best info I've found is on this site. I'm going to bring it up, cyclesofhistory.com. And here there'll be a link in the description below. We're looking at Saturn and Neptune cycles, their relationship to the Soviet Union, South Africa, U.S. racial desegregation, Israel-Palestine, very relevant to Israel-Palestine, and so on. This is a really wonderful site. It's interestingly not an astrology site, but I wanna unpack some of the correlations that are here, and this researcher has found links to a lot of interesting stuff. I encourage you to check this out. Navigate here to cyclesofhistory.com. Yeah, there is a great page on the 36-year cycle of Saturn and Neptune, their synodic period, or the period between conjunctions, 36 years. So yeah, this is a great resource if you're looking at the code of reality, the way things happen in cyclic and periodic ways. I love this site. I love the surprise that's presented to researchers who discover that history is like blatantly and flagrantly, like obviously, a matter of cyclical periodicity. And this charts the flagrant cyclical periodicity like a boss. I want to commend the architect of this website for your fantastic research. Anyway, moving on. These bullet points, they come from this site. So thank you. I'm just going to go through the bullet points. Let's see. Put my big head on the screen because bullet points are gonna come up. In 1846, Saturn and Neptune conjoined. So that's like a new moon. That's like a seed energy. Marx and Engels published the Communist Manifesto, concordant with the 1846 conjunction. Then in 1862, there was an opposition, like a full moon expression, like the fruition of that seed. At that time, serfs in Russia and slaves in America were emancipated. In 1882, there was a conjunction, and in Russia, the industrial strike started. In the UK, the Fabian Democratic Socialism was initiated, the party, and that conjunction was followed by an 1899 opposition, which saw the Russian Social Democratic and Revolutionary parties established. In 1917, there was a conjunction, and the Russian Revolution overthrew the Tsar, Lenin ruled, and Stalin rose. We just saw the chart of the eclipse. We have the opposition in 1936, which followed the Russian Revolution, and that saw Stalin's purges and the show trials. It also saw the Chinese Communists' long march. For those unfamiliar, Chiang Kai-shek, what's relevant? That was where Mao emerged as a figure, as relevant, as important, the Communist long march. In 1953, the conjunction saw Stalin's death. It saw Czech and East German revolts. In 1971, the opposition saw the SALT nuclear arms agreement and détente relax the Cold War. The 1989 conjunction, which is pretty special, and we'll look at that. That'll be the third rabbit hole deep. But this 1989 conjunction saw the fall of the Berlin Wall. It saw Russian communism and the Soviet Union end. Just the end of all that. Amazing chart. We're going to look at that later. But just to put a pin in this, the 2007 opposition saw formerly communist nations like Romania and Bulgaria join the EU and embrace, market capitalism to great extent. Then that was followed by a conjunction, which we're approaching very close in the approach now. It will go exact February 2026, and the February 2026 conjunction we don't really have information on, but I want to say that it's marked so far, we can say Trumpism and reform in the US, authoritarian reform in the United States, and in all the communist countries right now. Except North Korea, we're seeing market Leninism. We're seeing them embrace a competitive market with choices and options and a diverse marketplace, while maintaining a centralized control as a government. Market Leninism. North Korea still carefully constructs everything, but communism is leaning a little bit west, while America is leaning right. So, leaning authoritarian. Trumpism is very strange, and that's its own discussion. But I want to go down a rabbit hole and show a chart that is really, really wonderful. It is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction of 1989. And let's see. Here we have Saturn and Neptune meeting at 15 degrees Sagittarius, which is like fixed star Nunki. Ooh, powerful star. Fixed star Nunki. But here's the interesting thing. It makes a basket. It makes a basket. Now it's with Uranus in conjunction. Uranus is almost 8 degrees Sag, so 7 degrees away. But it sextiles Pluto and it mirrors this basket that we're experiencing now. When we go back to the charts, we'll go back to the full moon chart right after this, and you'll see that instead of a sextile to Uranus, we have in 1989 a sextile to the sun in Aquarius. It's a suitable surrogate. That's power. That's the power you need to make real transformation. So what happened was the end of Russia. It was the end of the Soviet Union, excuse me. It was the end of Russian communism. It was the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was just radical, massive social change. And it was the last time we had this formation that mirrors the current formation with powerful Aquarian, Uranian, Plutonian energies surrounding the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. All right, so here we are back at the full moon anyway, and what is relevant? The moon is on an awesome star, fixed star Anka. That's Alpha Phoenix, about half a degree away from the zodiacal degree of Phoenix, Anka. And this star is really resonant with reemergence, rising from the ashes of previous experience. Anka doesn't really represent a pleasant or an easy process. It's the process of the phoenix, but its influence is generally interpreted very constructively. And it's like a death rebirth star. So there's an urge to move like beyond ourselves, to be kind of reborn as like kind of freer, less self-obsessed, less narcissistic versions of ourselves. This month, this change, this could ask us to do that, even maybe sacrifice our pride, as it were, in some situations. That could be like a worst case scenario for really the higher angels of society. Not the group think, but the really that we're all in this together. That reflects truth. Very high truth, interconnectedness and interdependence and all those things that Aquarius represents. Other features of this full moon include Jupiter supporting, trining moon, sextiling sun, and supports with optimism and hope, winds of general success. It's from Gemini, so Jupiter is pretty activated here. Also from Gemini, T-squaring Mars and Eris for the full moon. And this emphasizes the squares really push too far. They take too far. They tend to overextend and then overreach. Don't know when to quite pull back or quit. Tends to be the problem presented by the square. And we have Eris, Chiron, Mars opposition. I think we can say that that this holds the power to wound. This holds the power to create wounds. And a clue or a breadcrumb here is Jupiter is in Gemini. He's actually on Alpha Gemini, and this indicates victory in the realm of the mental, in the realm of information, in the realm of communication, while the opposition from Pisces to Virgo is and that's made by Eris Mars opposition. That's significant of the balance between body, Virgo, and spirit, Pisces. Left brain, Virgo, and right brain processes, Pisces. So this split could really be pushed, and we could really have our brain boggled, especially with the idea that the new moon is square Uranus and trine Eris. That's simply a lot. That's just the recipe is for intensity this month. And so we can expect that this eclipse will, relative to the geopolitical stage on Earth, there is an overwhelming amount of intensity. And I think pivotal events. News fatigue is happening everywhere right now. It's just too intense. It's everything is, whether war or it's crazy. Everything's crazy. And this eclipse and this eclipse cycle are ushering in a time wave that looks like that will continue. Inwardly, the application of Mars purifying Virgo fire, the fire of purification, can really bring a lot of awareness and critical agency to blind spots caused by our own deep wounds. That's the textbook here. That's the cookbook. This has the potential to be very freeing, but it's going to involve a little bit difficult gymnastics. So I want to look at the obstacle that needs to be hurdled. Jupiter. Jupiter no longer on Sirius, but now on Castor, a major star. So still potent, The advice I would give for people who want to do this kind of work, inner work, taking bold Martian steps of purification into your inner wounds and the chaos of your deep psyche. Be cautious, be prudent, and use the common sense. Don't go too far. That's the caution with Jupiter square. So square Chiron, the potential to re-traumatize exists alongside the potential to really make healing breakthrough. They come together. So if you're doing powerful healing work, it's a time to use caution and avoid any feelings that tell you're approaching the red line. You're going too far into that material if you work with it directly. It's a time where some of us will choose to work with it directly, and some of us will need to work with it directly. But Jupiter squares are blessings in disguise, and challenges can be worth navigating.